All right. Good to be back. Look like we pretty much got this thing kind of straightened out here just a little bit here. So solicit your patience with us. I think we may be okay. Yeah, we'll straighten out. Oh my goodness. We okay now. Boy, I tell you, they work pretty good. They they they're pretty they straighten us out pretty good. So we okay. And we're back and we're live with the unsung apostle with LaMark J. Thomas. Okay. I'm so sorry, y'all. We had some technical issues here, and but we are back. We're dealing with the unsung LaMark J. Thomas. Was supposed to be on at 8 o'clock, and we ran into all kind of situations, technical issues, crazy. But the tech and I, we got it all straightened out. It looks like we're going to be just fine. We're going to be just fine now. Uh, my God, it's been one of them, one of those rides. There's so many ways we're back on the set. And listen, tell somebody that we're back on the air, and certainly we want to see you definitely in the place uh, to talk about who I am. Can't nobody tell the story better than me. That's just what it is. Can't nobody tell the story better than me. And so, with that being said, I am moving to the phase of who I am and how I became who I am, and the whole 9 yards. It's a very serious blockage here going on when it came to this network issue tonight. It was definitely a serious block. I don't know what this software came from. I don't know how it happened. Listen, we getting ready to get off into it. I'm giving some of the network time. You that are watching us on television, we are there. We just had some difficult hiccups, but we are certainly back. And I ask you to pray for me tonight as I come to you with the reality of who I am, how I became who I am. Yeah, like and share as I deal with the unsung of who I am and how I became who I am. So let's get off into it. My name is LaMark J. Thomas. That's who I am. I was born LaMark Taylor. And that's the maiden name of the woman who birthed me. That was her maiden name, and my father's name is Oscar Thomas. And yes, it was Oscar. It is Oscar Thomas, and it was. My father is much alive and well. Um, but during the time of my birth, I was born right there in Shreveport, Louisiana. Um, what a what a city! I grew up there, right there in Shreveport, Louisiana, on the Cooper Road. If anyone ever told you about the Cooper Road, believe you me, that wasn't no place to play at. You either had to fight, run fast, or die. That's where I grew up at, and one of the hardest places in America to grow up in is Shreveport, Louisiana, and definitely it's a serious place. So I grew up in Peach Street Apartments, and I grew up in Peach Street Circle right there in Shreveport on the Cooper Road. Well, again, you had to learn how to fight, run fast, or die. Either way it goes, it's a serious area to live in. Was born to a woman by the name of Shirley Ann Taylor, and she was the birth mom for me. And boy, my growing up, I had a very close praying grandmother, Linda Mae Washington, and I had a granddad. It was Dennis Mason, and great grandmother Isana Mason, host of aunties, John Taylor, Aunt Bertha, Betty Williams, and John Williams. These was all aunties and uncles, and a host of other uncles, Uncle Robert Lee, Uncle Ashby, Aunt T. We call her Aunt T. Lucinda, and we call Aunt Velma and Uncle Outrail. My family is very huge on my mom's side as well as my father's side, and life was certainly a life that we had experienced up on the Cooper Road, where we had family reunions like most families, and we had good time. We had good time for a family growing up. But by the age of 4.5, 5, growing up in the house with my parents, which was Shirley, and the father figure, Charles Johnson. And that's where my last name was changed at a very young age to that last name, due to, one would say, wanted all the family name to be one name, family. And so I grew up without the access of my real father, which was denied access to me through hatred. And we'll get off into that in a little while, but I want to keep going. At the age of 5, I want to say 5, 4, I started recognizing domestic violence, where my mom would treat me as as an animal. I was treated real bad as a young child, as an animal. I was treated horrible, mistreated so bad that I wouldn't wish this upon anyone, to be mistreated and done in so bad. As growing up, I don't want to be. I wouldn't wish this upon no one. So as growing up in the house, it would be domestic violence where they will argue and fight. One thing I can say about my father figure, he never raised his hand to hit her. And when I say her, I'm speaking about the woman who birthed me, who would call him out of his name, uh, mistreated me. He's a hardworking man. He's a hardworking man. He would go to work to provide for the household. He was the only man. He was the only one working in the house, and he would literally take care of all the bills. He would send his check home, and when he sent his check home through the mail, because he worked at International Paper Company, and he would send his check home through the mail, and her only responsibility was to take care of the family business. Well, we know how that go. That didn't happen. It was peaching off the money to pay this bill and that bill and this bill and this bill and that bill. And while growing up, she would be in the road with Miss Deborah or my Aunt Betty. And right before he gets off work, she would just barely be coming through the door to um to cook him something to eat. And it would be porky beans and wieners, torn with some chicken that she throw together pretty quick. And I grew up in a home where it was some serious issues in it, and I mean serious issues. Now, some of this stuff I'm gonna show, even pictures that I'm going to show, is going to be very graphic, and I don't want you to develop an attitude or hatred. This is not that type of exposure, but you need to know who your leader is, who your pastor is, and who your presider is. A lot of this stuff, even my children, they don't even know anything about it. This is how much I have carried this as secret as on the inside, but as of now, it's just time to expose this and let's move forward. So growing up in the house, I dealt with domestic violence, and I watched her jump on him and beat on him, and he would just stand there and you would call his mother all kind of names and his family all kind of names. It was just horrible. It was so horrible, so horrible. So as a kid, I had a nervous condition behind all this because it was a lot of yelling and a lot of arguing. And she would fight him, and I became very nervous, very nervous until I used to use the restroom on myself. And when I say restroom on myself, I mean literally poop on myself in my underwear. I would actually urine on myself, and that became a serious problem because of who of me as a kid, but no one would recognize the problem, and I would always want to go stay with my grandmother or my auntie to get away from that type of environment, but stuck, and she would often, when she couldn't do him, she would often make me the target. When I say she, for some of you that are coming in and catching this station live, I mean my birth mom, Shirley. She would literally make me the target and literally abuse me. I have been beat with extension cords, beat with all kind of weapons, sticks, and all this. You name it. I was done in by this lady, and we're gonna get into it. And it's not gonna all be done tonight, but we're going to definitely open up the can, and then we're going to start moving forward to where I am now. Okay. So yes, I was abused very bad, beat so bad the blood was running out my back, legs, skin. You can see the actual extension cords, whips and stuff that was on my back and arms and on my leg. I was made to get in the closet. I was made to go to bed without eating. I was made a lot of things happen to me as a kid that should not ever have happened to a kid, and I was just done in very bad. I was because I wouldn't eat English peas. I remember one time I wouldn't eat English peas. Y'all know the little round, little old ball peas. I wouldn't eat that, and she would beat me for not eating those peas, and I don't like them. I don't eat them to this day, and so I would used to take what you call a light bread and put the peas inside and wrap it up and roll it over in order to eat it and still get beat for still get beat forward, and it was hard. It was hard. And so one particular night they was arguing pretty bad and it got heated, and she went in the bathroom and she ran some scalding hot water and the tub. And if you know anything about hot water tanks back in the day, you know that there was no way you could turn the degree up or down on that hot water tank. Now remember, I'm just 4 or 5 years old, somewhere between that. We'll say no more than 6, but I can remember some of the things that happened. It was very crucial and cruel to me. And she turned the hot water tank. She turned the hot water on in the tub, and she. I had used the restroom myself, so it was already. She had jumped on me and beat me, and then she ran the tub full of hot water. And once she ran the tub with full of hot water, she then turned around and put me in that hot water. I need not to tell you the damage that was done to me and my body, but I'm going to show y'all some pictures. So I'm getting ready to add the screen, and I'm warning you that it's very graphic, and you need to know you need to know what you're dealing with. And again, this is not to defame nor tear down, but I want you to know where I had my encounters and where I come from. So I'm about to show you these pictures, and I want you to look at it. And I'm about to show it to you now. I'm adding it to the screen, and I'm about to pull it up now. So while I'm talking, it's going to be up. And oh my God, there we go, right there. There we go. Let's move this one off the screen. So remove the scene. Okay, so this is my feet. I want y'all to see this. So I'm about to make this thing big enough so you can see it. These are my feet where I was severely burned so bad as a child. until the bones literally melt down inside of my skin. And for a while, my feet was so horrible, horrific, that it took. I want y'all to see it. We're gonna go to the next photo. This happened when I was 5, 6. It was horrible. I remember my feet looking like chicken or fish frying in the grease, and I jumped and rumped out the tub and ran into the kitchen, and I was hollering and crying and screaming, looking at her. And she looked at me and turned her head. I distinctively remember this. She distinctively turned her face and turned her head, and it was took my someone in the house that came in there. I remember that was visiting, but I remember who it was. They came in and they said, what did happen here? And they called Aunt T, and Aunt T had to come get me. These are my feet this is what they look like right now, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to see this. This is not a joke. This is actually for real. And so Auntie came in the green LTDs that she was driving. I remember took me to the hospital. I can see the bones literally melting down on the floor. I seen this. I seen it. I'm sorry. I seen it. My feet melted down. And this is just some of the graphics. So you'll know that there is more graphic that are coming. I have the medical bills and how much they cost and the whole 9 yards of what happened to me. From my understanding, that they said, and according to the medical record, that I literally died. I literally died through the trauma, but they was able to resuscitate and bring me back. Um, and I'm going to bring all these records, but we can't do all this in one night. But we're going to open it up. It's probably going to be about 4 or 5 segs of this, and so I was there. I was there. I was because all of this was part of the abuse that she done to me. Uh, Back then, there was no such thing as child abuse. But right there in Shreveport, Louisiana, was the first high degree burn that ever hit Shreveport, Louisiana. And my picture and my incident went all over the world, and money poured in. This is how the medical bill got paid. People from all over the world poured money into the hospital due to me being burned as a kid, as a child. This is what I encountered growing up. And so we moved from there, and my grandmother, who came to the hospital, I remember seeing her after so long of being woke up. I think they said I had been asleep for about 2 or 3 weeks. They had induced me to a coma, and for them to be able to work. As remember, I was between the age of 4 and 6 when this happened, and and all I can remember was the flashback of reaching up to a woman that didn't show me love. See, I was a boy that when he went to a party, he would not fix his plate until he fixed his mom plate. Wherever I went, and I got people that would back this up, wherever I went, my mom was on my mind. That's how much I loved her. There was nothing that she could do wrong. If she wasn't feeling well, I wasn't feeling well. I was a son that loved his mom so much until there will be nothing that she can ask for that she wouldn't have gotten from me. Whether if I had 50 cents or a quarter as a kid and I wanted candy, if she wanted, she had it. I was that type of son that loved his mother. And all the while loving her, I could not understand from that day to this day, well, until I laid on the chase and talked with my psych and who trained me in Purdue to become a psychologist. Uh, she explained to me what it was that I was going through, and that was Love unconditionally. She said you love your mother unconditionally, no matter what she said, what she did, and how she did. You loved her unconditionally. And there was nothing wrong with you. It was something wrong with her. Well, we got down to that. So we get back. I grew up a little bit further with my grandmother. She came to the hospital. She prayed on me and prayed for me. She stayed around the clock with me at the hospital. She didn't, the birth mom didn't show up at the hospital at all. Uh, she came and if she did, it was just to show her face, to show remorse from what the doctors were saying in the reports, and we have the reports. Next time we're gonna show all of those. The paperwork, and was told that I needed to be in the hands of my grandmother, which I was. I went home with my grandmother, Mother Linda Mae Washington, very well known person. She is the great niece, but she is the niece of the founder of the Church of God in Christ. Her daddy is the brother Bishop Charles Harris Mason. Bishop J.W. White, right there in Shreveport, Louisiana, was my great grandmother's brother, Hosanna Mason. That's Bishop J.W. White's sister. So as you can see, I'm very rooted and grounded in church. Uh, Grew up Church of God in Christ at night, Baptist by day, and I'm going in and out, but I hope you can kind of flow with me because I'm having moments here and I'm trying to stay strong and at the same time give you what I should be giving you, and that is who I am and how I became who I am. So that was my grandma. So I grew up. My grandmother prayed and prayed, and the Lord put bones back on my feet and skin back on it. And I stayed. I think I stayed in the hospital almost a year in the LSU hospital right there in Shreveport, Louisiana. And my grandmother, she prayed and she prayed until the Lord healed, and I was able to walk out. And I'm cutting and pasting. I'm able to walk out of the hospital and go home with her, but not walk. I literally had to be put in a wheelchair, and they rolled me out and they put me in my Aunt Lucinda car, and then my granddad and my uncles would come down and pick me up and took me into my grandmother's house and placed me where they were gonna put me in, and the whole 9 yards. And my grandmother loved me. She nursed me. She cared for. I wish that lady was alive right now. I promise you, she would not want for nothing. That lady loved. That's who raised me all the way up to the age of 12. So I would go to church. After all of this stuff, would go to church. I would go to Republican Baptist Church in the daytime on Sunday mornings, and then I would go to the Church of God in Christ at night, which was Johnson Holy Temple Church of God in Christ. Some of the major preachers of the Church of God in Christ came out of Johnson Holy Temple Church of God in Christ. Superintendent Bradley, you name them, you name Paul Lindsay, you name them. They came out of the Church of God in Christ. It came out of Johnson Holy Temple, which is a very well known church right there in Shreveport, Louisiana, and so I had the chance to experience God Baptist, and I had experienced God Kojic, and so Kojic was my grandmother, and so I would go to church with her. So I remember one night growing up, uh, my I wanted to go to church. And this particular night, she was arguing, very going through her domestic situation, just on a Sunday. And you just went to church, and you acting like that, and you just left the church. I couldn't get it together mentally. Well, anyway, I got dressed like I normally do on every Sunday night to go to church. This particular night, a little bit more growing up. I think I was like 9 to 10 years old. Uh, what she had came and got me from my grandmother's house and said that I was her son, and that I need to move back home. with her, blase, blase, and blase, and she did that, and to only to get me back there to abuse me more. I want to say that to abuse me more. So this particular night, she had jumped on me before. Then I went on and got dressed. I'm going to church. She came in there and said, "Well, before you go to church, you better wash up all these dishes in the sink." Well, I didn't mess the dishes up, but I just went on and I washed the dishes. Got through washing the dishes. That wasn't enough. She came in there and took all the dishes out of the cabinets and placed them up there. So I had to watch them, hoping that I would not be able to catch the bus with my Uncle Jim because he drove the bus for Johnson Holy Temple, and he would pick me up. I hated to miss church. I was a kid that loved church. I wanted to go to church. I and to miss church, it was like pulling hairs off of me. It was painful. Some of you understand what I'm saying to you. You know, you've been there. You understand. So this particular, I finished up everything. I finished up all those dishes, put everything up in the cabinet, mopped the floor, swept the floor, cleaned the table up, got dressed, get dressed again. And she came in there where I was and said, "You know what? I can't stand you. I hate the day that you were born. I tried to kill you myself in my womb. I can't stand you. I hate you. I hate you. You're no good bastard." She would call me all kind of name, nasty name. You know, she had a cussing mouth and still do. And back then, she was ruthless. You know, nobody could stop her but one person. That was our Uncle Ray. Uncle Raspy Mason. He could stop her. That's one person that would sit her down and deal with her outside my granddaddy, Papa Dennis, or different others. All right. So she came in there. We had what you call a piano that was in the house. It was green, and that's where I learned how to start. I sit down at the piano and start playing it, and that's where she, came in there while I was getting dressed, waiting on to come, and I stood up, and she was just talking crazy, crazy. I'm standing there looking at her, and she swung at me, and when she swung at me, I ducked and missed, and she broke her hand. She broke her hands on that piano, broke her finger. I think it was one or two fingers. Because I took, then she got mad and said, "You get out of my house. Now get out of my house." So that was during the time my grandmother was living. So I went to her house and told her what was going on. She said, "I told her to leave you at this house anyway. You need to stay here at this house with me. And this is it. You're going to stay here." Well, I got into another situation where she went over there meddling that and wanted me to come home and got the police involved and telling these folks that that's my child and this and that and this. And my grandmother told the police, well, she's abusing him and he don't want to go. But at that time, you got to remember domestic violence didn't play a part back then. And so I stayed there. I stayed there for about a week or two. She come and got me. And then the next thing you knew, she started putting me in the Johnny Gray Jones. And that's for kids, children, juvenile, whatever they call it, juvenile center. Yeah, and put me in there, and the people noticed all the bruises and everything on me, and they started digging. And when they started digging, she all of a sudden showed up to my. She wanted me to come home because they were doing an open investigation. So she come, got me, brought me back to the house, and then when she took me to the house, she kept me there with her, and then as things played along and down, she then turned around and started her domestic violence against me again. So it got so bad, ladies and gentlemen, and this is something not even she knew, and not even nobody knew about this. And I'm about to share this with you, and this is actually the truth. We lived in a house called 1706 Peace Street, and it was a 3-bedroom house, and it had an attic fan, and the attic fan that blew. It blew, And y'all remember that. Some of you young folks don't know nothing about that, but it was a circular, and you don't even need an air conditioner. That thing will have you freezing cold in the summertime. It takes all the heat out and put all the air in, cold air. And when we did that, when we was there that particular night, that Wednesday, I never forget it. It was a Wednesday night. I had a Wednesday day. I'm sorry, I had just left school, and when I left school, I turned around and I went and met this guy in the trail. I bought a Friday night special, a 38. I did. And the guy asked me, "Why do you want this gun?" And I didn't tell him. I said, "I just want it for protection." It's about this gun. And on that Thursday night, I'll never forget this Thursday night, she jumped on me that Wednesday evening, and then she made me walk to school in the rain. And she made me walk, and then she was in the car, a red LTD that she had, and a father figure had bought it for her, and I was a walk. She made me walk in school in the rain, and then she had the audacity to hit a puddle of water and splash the water up on me. Now my siblings had brand new clothes and everything for school, but I didn't. I didn't have new clothes and new shoes and all of this stuff. She did a number on me, and I have, even again, my kids may be watching it, but they never knew of this because I kept it quiet and I kept it as a secret. I didn't expose it, but I am now, and I know they're gonna be watching this, and my phone gonna ring tonight and tomorrow, and be like, "Dad, we didn't know this." But anyway, so as we move forward, that Thursday night, I had had enough of the stuff she had done to me. I had made up my mind that I was going to kill her that night. I'm sharing information that I never shared with no one. I had made up my mind that Thursday night. I was 10 and a half years old. I was getting ready to kill her. I went in the bedroom, stood behind the curtain while the curtain was flapping back and forth, back and forth. And while I'm talking about this, some of you people that's watching this, you better be careful how you treat your children. You don't know where their mindset is at. You have no idea where their mindset is at. And their mindset can be right there on the edge to kill you. And tonight, you got a chance to turn this thing around. I hope you can hear me, and I hope you hear me well. You got a chance to turn this thing around. And so I stood there. The gun was fully loaded. I pulled the handle back on it, and I pointed at her. And I was crying and I was shaking. And I pointed that gun at her. And I was just shaking, just like you see me shaking right now. I'm just shaking. And I was getting ready to pull the trigger. And I wasn't shaking because I was scared or I was nervous. I was shaking because of all the hate. And I wanted to shoot her right in her mouth. I didn't want to shoot in her head, on top forehead, on the side of her face. I wanted to shoot her in her mouth because that's where the damage came from, her mouth. She don't know this story, but I'm putting the story out so she can hear it because she don't listen to it. Believe me. And she's probably listening to it now. Yes, you was almost dead. You didn't know that. But I tell you, trials work. Trials work. And while I was standing there, I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Vengeance is mine. Vengeance is mine. Children, vengeance is mine." I heard that. And I still said, I tried to override it. I wanted to shoot her anyway, but it's like he froze me. And this is what happened when you come in contact with the Holy Ghost. He froze my hand. I couldn't even move my finger. I was trying to move the finger to pull the trigger, and he wouldn't let me move my finger to kill her. I wanted to kill her so bad that you don't even understand right now how I felt. I was eager, anxious to kill her. Because even if I went to prison, even if I went to jail for the rest of my life, it was worth not me being hurt and dogged out, beat, and abused again. It was worth it. For some of y'all that just coming in, go back and review this in the beginning. This just section was seg one. You will see the pictures of what she done to my feet, um, how she burned them, and the whole 9 yards due to her hatred that she had for me. And so at this point, I'm standing there, and I left the house that night. And when I left that house that night, I threw that gun in the trail because I went to Pine Grove Elementary. I went to the North Side. Then I went to Lanier. And then we went to some Shreve Island. We was always as kids all over the place, all over the house, all over everywhere. She wasn't stable. It just everything she did was never stable. It was never stable. It didn't matter. We was always constantly moving around and growing up, and I'm going backwards a little bit, and then I'm going forward. I remember Christmas. We never had a good Christmas because we would have Christmas on that day, and we would wake up and there would be toys and stuff everywhere, and we would have this toys and have a good time. But when we went to school on the first day back to school, we already knew what was gonna happen when we got home. That wasn't gonna be no Christmas stuff left. She took all the Christmas stuff back. Every piece of Christmas stuff. She took it back to the store. And we didn't have enough for Christmas. It was fun for 2 weeks, but we couldn't keep it. And it was a waste. It was holidays was horrible. I I, I didn't want her to buy I didn't want her to buy me nothing for Christmas because I already knew we wasn't gonna be able to keep it. So my grandmother started buying me my stuff for Christmas, all the way up from the age of 10 to 12. I ain't have to worry about it going back. I ain't have to worry about it going back to the store. I knew I had it. And I was gonna be able to keep my Christmas present. But my rest of my siblings who I grew up in the house with, all their stuff was gone. All their Christmas stuff was gone back to the store. It was horrible. And so upon that 12 years or 10 years old and a half, I left and I was with my grandmother. And upon being with my grandmother, I turned around and stayed with her. And then at the age of 12, she died. Oh, that was a hurting feeling for me that I had to be a part of a funeral and everybody kept eye on me. I remember the night that she died, and I was at Republican. They had a Republican, I think it was a church anniversary or a pastoral anniversary. I think they had it. But anyway, I remember being there and I was trying to get home. I was trying to get home to I was trying to get home to y'all excuse if you hear the noise, y'all excuse me, I'll deal with that later on. But I was trying to get home because something wasn't right with my grandmother. And I felt it. And it was a Sunday night. And I kept trying to I kept telling them, can y'all take me home? We ain't fit to go home right now. We ain't going home. You'll be all right. And I said, no, I need to get home. I need to get dressed so I can be at church. And that particular night, that particular night, uh, I wasn't able to get back there. And so couldn't check. And I forget the little short deacon that was down there. Different ones were trying to get me back to Shreveport so I could get to church. And it wouldn't work. So that same night, she was acting a fool again. Acting a fool, talking crazy again. Just left church. Like looked like more she went to church, looked like the more demonized she became. She was much better off when she didn't go to church, but when she went to church, she became a demon. And so we got home. I'm getting dressed. She started arguing, started acting a fool. My uncle pulled up and he left. Cause if you wasn't ready when he came, he got you. You got 2 minutes to walk out that door. And he was on here, he'll tell you, you got 2 minutes to walk out that door. If you don't see that door open in 2 minutes, that van going in the drive and it's out of there. And so I couldn't get out the house because she was acting crazy and I missed my ride. So I cried. I said, something ain't right. I don't know what it is. Now you gotta remember I was 12 years old. Something is not right with my grandmother and something's not right. Well, Mrs. Brown asked me, you gonna take me up to church? Can you about take me up there? No, we're not taking you nowhere. I'm not taking you nowhere. You ain't going to no church tonight. That's all you want to do is go up there to that old church. That's all you want to do is go up there to that church. What's wrong with a kid wanting to go to church? Now you're gonna beat somebody, beat them for going out in the street, hanging out, doing wrong. But I got beat for wanting to go to church, hang around in the church, be a part of church. I got beat for that kind of stuff. And so we got a few more minutes. I'm gonna give it about 8 more minutes, and then we're gonna cut this one off, and we'll be back this week again, talking about the unsung. I'm going to give y'all everything you need to know that you need to know and want to know. So this particular night, I went in the room. I was crying, and I went in the room, and I went and stood in the window, and a star flew across me. And I saw it. And when I saw it, all I could see was her saying bye. And the phone rang, and she was in there to my, what's it? No, that ain't right there. No, what happened? And this is what I heard. Because she was so rebellious against my grandmother. Oh my God. Oh my God. She was horrible to her own mother. She was horrible to her own mother. So she came in there. I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. You need to sit down. I said, what you need to talk to me for? I need to talk to you about mother. I said, she gone. How you know that? How you know that? And I told her. And I told her. And I said to her, I said, I just seen a star pass by. I said, one, she had told me some things. She had told me some things. And when she told me some things, she said she was tired. She said her spirit was tired, her soul was tired, and she was ready to get away from it. Now I'm 12 years old. I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. I didn't know what that meant at all. I didn't know what that meant. But when that star flew by me and she said bye to me, I felt a part of me leave. I knew that she had died without anybody ever telling me that my grandmother died. So when she came in there again, she gone. How you know? She told me some things. She said she was tired, her soul was tired, and she told me a lot of other stuff that I have not ever shared with anyone about all the family members. Me and my grandmother was very close, and when I come back up again, I'm gonna show you a picture with her standing there with me and her hands on me. We was very close, very, very, very close. I was her favorite. grandchild. Not that I was better, but it's just the point of what I was going through and dealing with all the hatred and abuse from my the woman who birthed me. Cause she was never a mother to me. She don't even fit the description called mom because nobody would even treat an animal like that. And so my grandmother died, and then they started making funeral arrangements and all that stuff. I remember doing all that stuff and dealing with that, talking with Ella Clifton Roberts and all that stuff there, putting to help me in the part of putting stuff together. So the family kept a very close eye on me, thinking that I was gonna have a nervous breakdown and all that. But what they didn't know is that she had already spoke to me about it and gave me peace about her transition, but on the problem is I didn't know that she was transitioning out. I didn't know it. I had no idea she was transitioning out. But when she transitioned out, that's when everything came to life to me at the age of 12 years old. So I wind up living, I think maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks. I wind up after that living on the streets, living a 12-year old, living on the streets, literally. Didn't know where my next meal was coming from. She had told my Aunt Lucinda, Aunt Velma, other family member, don't let me in the house. If you do, it's going to cause a problem with her. And my family was like, listen, we love you and we'll give you something to eat, water, or whatever you want. But we are not finna get in the middle of you and your mama and your mama between you and your mama mess. Your mama, that's y'all problem, and there's something she gonna have to answer for what she doing. And I remained living on the street at the age of 12 to the age of 14 to the age of 12 to the age of 14. Didn't know where my next meal was coming from. Sleeping in abandoned cars behind buildings and sleeping in people cars that went to work and left their car unlocked. I slept in it, and when they got ready to get in their car, I had to jump up out the house and run. I mean, out the car and run. Sleeping in the abandoned home at the age of 12 years old. No bath, no clothes, no shoes, just whatever I had to survive with. Eating out of trash can behind the dumpster. Eating out of trash can behind the dumpster. I want y'all to hear me. Going into Piggly Wiggly stores, stealing candy bar in order to eat because I had no money, no food. No money, no food. This is what I had to live with. Now I'm coming back with Seg 2 very soon. I will post it and let you know the unsung number 2, where we left off at me sleeping on the street behind garbage cans, abandoned houses, abandoned cars, people cars that I didn't even know, um, just on the street, nowhere to go, nothing. But I serve a God. We're gonna talk about that. Thank y'all for listening tonight. Don't take this and become hatred toward the person who did this. But this story is to get you to become alert and aware of how you treating people. It's very dangerous. As you heard me say before, as I close out, I stood there over the bed with a Friday night special at the age of 10 years old and a half, trying to pull the trigger, but God kept it and said vengeance belongs to him. Now we're going to pick up in a few days with Seg 2, and we're going to come back and we're going to pick up where we left off. Thank y'all for watching. Thank you for taking the time out in the TV land, and we'll see you next round. I'm doing it because can't nobody tell the story like I tell the story. It's my story. And you need to know who you dealing with and who I am. All right. I love you to life, and I will see you guys next round. Y'all be prayerful, be loving and kind, and show love. We see you next round for the unsung part.
Welcome to EEFI Television Networks. Scan the QR code for more information. Thanks for watching.